ANC veteran Father Smangaliso Mkhatshwa joins us now to talk a little bit about today's proceedings and what they mean not only for the ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa and, of course, the upcoming NASREC conference. A very good evening to you, Father Mkhatshwa, and thank you so much for speaking to us. Now, as a former member of the National Assembly, you've also been on the National Executive Committee. Your thoughts on this? There were many people who thought that it was a question of ethics versus accountability, that those who were supposed to stand up for the truth and principle did not do so. What are your thoughts on what unfolded at the National Assembly vote earlier?
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity. Allow me, please, to take a couple of minutes just to set the scene. First of all, when Mandela was released in 1990, I had the prerogative of working very closely with Cyril Ramaphosa, Eric Malube, and a few others. So it's someone that I've known well. And at the UDF level and at the other levels, I've known him and respected him very much. So that is really the background. But today's debate, I must say, on this Phala Phala saga, for me was very depressing for four reasons. One, a lot of time was wasted on the technicalities and inadequacies of the Justice and Robo's independent panel report. The authors of that report have admitted themselves admitted as such. Two, with few exceptions, there was very little defense of the president's moral integrity, which I believe is what matters the most, because I don't think in a matter like this, people are just worried about technicalities and legal niceties and so on. They're talking about the leadership and the quality of leadership, the integrity of leadership. Now, some parties identified that as his underbelly, unfortunately. And the focus, as I say, was too much on legal arguments. Thirdly, MPs abuse the House, sometimes you can expect, to grandstand. I was a member of Parliament myself, I understand that. They forgot that the challenge for Phala Phala has both constitutional and deep ethical implications. Four, an unfortunate impression was created that most honorable members were more concerned about their jobs, their social status, than raising the ethical leadership bar at a time when it is most needed. And finally, the result of the vote was predictable. I think the ANC has could easily command the majority, particularly when people are just arguing in terms of what is legally and technically acceptable or not acceptable. And so that's the easiest part of it. You can go to a dictionary and just read about that and similar instances in future. But what one would have expected was that members of parliament are, as public representatives, will also be asking themselves the question, what is in the best interest of the people we represent or of the people of South Africa in this particular instance? I didn't hear that coming out loud and clear. It was just more mudslinging and people trying to score points and so on, which I found a little bit disappointing. Going forward,
Father Mkhatshwa, before we talk about going forward, I just want you to help us understand, as somebody who, as you say, you understand the National Assembly parliamentary space, but you also understand the party political divide. There was criticism against the ANC NEC for instructing members to vote in a particular way, as you saw Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma saying, actually stood up as a disciplined member of the ANC, I vote yes, which is contrary to the expectations were told or were expected of parliamentary members. So when you say people who are there to represent the majority must vote with their conscience, but at the same time do the right thing for the people on the floor, and yet there's such contested understanding, the terms or the findings of that report, what should we understand to have happened in Parliament today? Were we betrayed, South Africans who voted for ethical leadership?
Yes, I think if your approach is purely a technical one, legally technical one, I think you probably would have a case because there are different opinions. Even legal experts would say, yes, maybe there was not sufficient evidence to prove that there was a need for impeachment or otherwise and so on. But for me, there is a much bigger issue. And the bigger issue is that you are talking about leadership of people in very high positions, leadership in the country involving 60 million people. That's what you are really talking about. And what you are saying is that you, especially at this time, facing all the problems that we do, you would want to make sure that you have got a leadership that is the credibility, that also has got the courage and the accountability and so on. And I personally feel that maybe other members of parliament should have argued also at that level. Maybe to be able to say, maybe those who know him very well and who have confidence in him, such as myself, would have actually said, okay, we understand the technicalities, but this is the man, this is the leader that we have confidence in, this is his track record, that's what he has done, and this is not the end of the story. We'll probably still discuss it further, but the people of South Africa, the question they want to know is not the technicalities. They want to know is this situation giving us confidence that as a nation we can move forward together? And some of us, probably in the trade unions and other areas, have worked, unfortunately, because we're talking about an individual. I would rather prefer to talk about either an institution or principles. But we're talking about individuals, we cannot run away from that. But people also who would have been able to say, okay, we understand the technicalities, we've got the numbers, we can win that, that's no problem. But we're now talking about South Africa's future and the future of this nation, and this is what we are looking for. And I'm sure there could have been people with that kind of knowledge or experience and so on, but it didn't really come out clearly.
All right.
The outcome of the vote was, I think, almost a foregone conclusion. That wasn't, for me, that was not a problem.
All right. Thank you so much, Father Smangaliso Mkhatshwa, who's an ANC veteran himself, a former member of the ANC's NEC and National Assembly as well.